Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, this is Ian with Out of This World Reader, and today's video is going to be a book chat on a new favorite, and that is Uprooted by Naomi Novik. I recently read Spitting Silver earlier this year by the same author, and that one was a new winter favorite of mine, and I felt like this one is perfect for spring. But let me tell you, I was completely wrong. Although the majority of this kind of takes place during spring, I feel like this is just perfect for fall time because there is a dark forest component to it, and it made it feel very eerie and just creepy. So definitely a fall read. I don't know why I thought this was a spring read. I don't know if it was because of that ugly yellow color or what was going on, but this is probably a perfect fall read. But like I mentioned, Spitting Silver was just an absolute new favorite, and I hadn't heard great things about this one, but I trusted my gut and like kind of believing that I would love this one just as much. And I absolutely love this one. I actually think I enjoyed this one a lot more than Spitting Silver, but just a little bit. Like, they're both great, but this one I think kind of stood out more to me, and I'll kind of explain that more in depth through this book chat. But first, let me give you a little bit of background and info about what's going on here. In this folktale retelling, these surrounding villages kind of rely on this mysterious dragon living in this tower to kind of protect them from the wood, which is the dark forest, and kind of the creatures that are within. But he requires a payment, and that payment is every 10 years the surrounding villages kind of come together, bring together all these young women, and then he chooses one to live with him for 10 years, and then after those 10 years are up, he releases them, and then instead of those kind of women kind of going back to their villages, they leave forever and never come back. So it's very kind of like the villages are kind of questioned as kind of like what goes on in the tower, because nobody really knows. He supposedly doesn't like hurt them or touch them or anything like that. Like, they're just staying there for 10 years. And the upcoming choosing ceremony is fast approaching, and Agnieszka is kind of worried for her only friend and best friend Cassia, because she is just the perfect version of what the dragon is always looking for. But when he comes to choose, a different choice is completely made, and from there the kind of wood, the dark forest is starting to make some moves, and Agnieszka and the dragon are kind of set on a path to just fix everything. And it was just so fast paced and thrilling from there that I just couldn't put the book down. I can say that this is probably a perfect for any fan of just folktale or retellings. This kind of is centered around a not well-known folktale retelling. It kind of had little aspects of Beauty and the Beast and kind of, what is it called, Rapunzel a little bit, but mostly it is just a not well-known. And I love that how kind of Naomi Novik kind of takes these not well-known folktales and just spins a kind of perfect tale out of them. I also think this would be a perfect read for anybody that is a fan of witches, wizards, or magic in general. And if you know me, I love all three of those things. And the witches and wizards play a significant role in the story and the kingdom that's kind of surrounding the wood. They are kind of valued highly, and each one has a different kind of ability or something in general. Like, one is centered just for like war tactics and just war in general. Another one is kind of like a forger, kind of like in Skyrim. There's alchemy. They all kind of specialize in a different way, and they're very valued, and it shows throughout the story how they're kind of depicted. But I just loved how it was kind of incorporated in the story and how it kind of played out. The magic system is kind of, it's very different from what I'm used to. Like, it's kind of similar to like Harry Potter and all those other kind of stories where you kind of are crafting spells and making potions and similar. But what makes it unique is kind of one of the characters that you'll encounter. I can't really go in much in depth, or I guess I can, but Agnieszka, the way she uses her magic is kind of, she sings, and it's very different from what I'm used to. with like how magic is kind of played out, but I loved how it was just kind of different from those other ones. And then two new favorite characters, Agnieszka and the dragon. And he's not like a real dragon. Like I thought when I was going in, I was like, a dragon? I was like living in a tower? Like I thought that was so cool, but that's just kind of what the surrounding villages call him. But their journey throughout this story is just like, it's hard to kind of say it's perfect, because their mentorship, like the kind of a mentor and apprenticeship, is very rough, and he's very hard on her, and he's a dickhead like throughout the story, very harsh. But as the story kind of went on, I was just constantly looking forward to just more scenes between them. Like I couldn't like stand not having it, because I enjoyed it so much, even though he was just like a dickhead to her. And Agnieszka's kind of character development through the story is very special as well. Like you see her continue to just grow. In the beginning, she's very strong and kind of not very will-powered, or kind of, I don't know how to explain this, but she's just very driven. And that just continues on through the story, and it almost increases as she kind of learns more about just like what's going on. And it was just so valuable to just kind of see her grow throughout the story as she learned more about what was going on. It also had some good aspects of world building as we kind of learn through the journey with Agnieszka, as she kind of travels to the other villages with the dragon, or back to like the main kingdom, because there's two kingdoms that are basically kind of sworn enemies, and they're kind of at an alliance right now. But with things going on, it's starting to heat up in between these two kingdoms, and she kind of travels to the kingdom. I can't remember what, I think it was like Polna is one of them, but I can't remember what the other one is. And you get to just like learn more about that kingdom, because in the beginning kind of centers around these just like little villages, but it expands more the world, and in the kingdom, as you learn more kind of what's going on in this bigger kind of environment. And then you have the wood, the dark forest, and let me tell you, this was a pretty dark and creepy place. Like it is different from kind of other dark forests that I've encountered. It was, as you learning throughout the story, it's almost like alive. Like it kind of reminded me a little bit of Annihilation. Like the creatures and everything going on within was just very creepy. I mean, like we had giant trees, and I know that's not very kind of unique, but for some reason these ones just freaked me out a ton. We had, like, I just don't want to go into any more of the creatures you'll encounter, but because that like might ruin the experience. But they were just really creepy, and like I mentioned, perfect for fall. I don't know why spring. I don't know why I thought of spring, but just fall, perfect, eerie vibes that you will get from this just dark, mysterious wood. Another aspect that I wasn't kind of expecting was just a little bit of political intrigue. Like I mentioned, those two kingdoms kind of having some difficulties in the past, and just kind of past occurrences that occurred that kind of separated them, and they're barely just hanging on with this alliance. And I just can't go into like the spoilers between it, but you'll learn how like the wood kind of plays a role between these two kingdoms and what's going on between them. But like it had some political intrigue, and I love kind of political intrigue in kind of the stories that I read, so it was just fun to see that as well. Also, one thing that I want to touch on, I know I always touch on this in every single book I read, but the tower that the dragon lives in is probably my ideal house. I know I say that about everything that I encounter in books, but this is just like perfect. Like I always dreamed of like living in a tower that kind of looks over the kind of surrounding land, and just so kind of peaceful up there for some reason. I don't know why. Like every time you hear a tower, you always think about like locked in, but with like this tower, I just felt something different. I mean, it had like a giant alchemy lab, a giant kitchen, because I love to cook, a giant library. I mean, there wasn't much else that I needed in a house, and it was just perfect to just read about and learn more what's going on with the tower and its past. It was just top notch, and I loved it so much. I'm gonna say right now that I will live in a tower someday. I'm calling it out right now. To compare this to Spinning Silver is really hard. They are both favorites of mine, and I think Naomi Novik has become one of my favorite authors. I just love retellings, and just these are like, both of them are not very well known, so it's good to just experience something that I'm not experienced in. But I'm gonna have to say that because of just the magic and the witches and all that other stuff going on, like this one, it seemed like Uprooted was more kind of like action-packed and suspense, whereas kind of Spinning Silver kind of packed a deeper meaning. Like this one definitely had a deeper meaning towards the end that you'll kind of discover. But with Spinning Silver, it was mostly just kind of like those values and kind of like a deeper meaning at the center, whereas this one, I got more like action, war scenes, battle scenes, and just suspense throughout the story. And I think that is why, between that and just the magic, I think this one is going to be like a little bit higher than Spinning Silver, but they're both so close. I ended up giving Uprooted 5 stars, which is just easy for me to do. I loved it so much that I could not give it 5 stars. I will definitely be returning to this in the future, and both of them. And I can't wait to just continue on with more of Naomi Novik's works. I haven't decided whether I want to go to the Temporary series, which is kind of like dragons and playing a role in the Napoleonic Wars, I believe, or a Deadly Education, which is kind of like a magic school. And this one kind of like spins it on its head, is like the magic school is trying to kill you, essentially. So don't know where to go. If you have any opinions, let me know. But I almost forgot, between Spinning Silver and Uprooted, they both have a very whimsical kind of style of writing, and they will definitely transport you. If that you're into that, like, you will definitely feel like you're there. I almost feel like it's just very descriptive, whimsical, and I just love like Naomi Novik's kind of style of writing. But my overall thoughts on Uprooted is just top notch, easy 5 stars, like I said. And I think this is a contender for Book of the Year, like one of my favorite of the year. That and Spinning Silver, like they were both so great, and it is like up there, and like I think it might be number 1 like right now. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it goes. I've got a lot of great books to get to that I hope will be great anyway. So if any of this sounds interesting to you, please go check it out. You will not be disappointed, trust me. But that's all for today's book chat. I hope you enjoyed. If you want to connect with me on social media, I'll make sure to leave those down below as well. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out on another adventure. And I'm going to leave you today with a message from Ellie, who said, "Adventure is out there." So I'll catch you next time. Bye.